Sam Hutchens, he covers Ole Miss football for Clarion-Ledger, and he's had a lot to report on. Sam, thanks for joining us. When did you start to think that Lane Kiffin was gone?
I'd like to say it. I was going back to Occam's razor. I think that's what it is. Like the simplest explanation is probably the most reliable, right? And there were just 100 small things that he would have done differently over the last, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, if he were staying. So I think it was, at least for me, I'm not sure there was one moment. I think it was a slow drip of realization that man, like, why would you do that? Or why would you say that? Or why would you phrase something like that if you're gonna stay in Oxford? So it was more of a slow drip for me than I think a sudden realization.
Trying to understand what happened in the meeting with the athletic director. Did he want to stay? Did he threaten to take coaches? Did he threaten to take players? Was he trying to leverage this where he could still coach Ole Miss in the playoffs?
Yeah. I think the college football playoff was throughout this whole process was definitely Ole Miss's best carrot to dangle, right? And not only because Lane's never coached in one four, but you sort of are setting him up to be the villain if he leaves the college football playoff. So I think that Keith Carter and that realization had set in pretty firmly in Oxford, even after the Egg Bowl, or we were waiting, refreshing on Saturday for this whole coaching search before it even unfolded Sunday. But yeah, Lane, that was kind of the last sticking point, and I think maybe the Iron Bowl held things up, right? Because if Auburn would have won, Ole Miss would be playing in the SEC championship. But yeah, Lane definitely wanted to coach in the college football playoff, and then in his statement, it was pretty strongly worded, kind of going after Keith Carter, the athletic director, a little bit. And then in his interview on the tarmac with Marty, I think he was a little more understanding of Ole Miss's situation and his situation.
Yeah, I don't know if he understands the gravity of all of this. It's like, hey, I tried, I gotta go. God told me to go to LSU. I mean, it doesn't work that way, you know. And I said, maybe jokingly, I thought he was referring to Nick Saban when he said I spoke to God. No, he said he talked to Saban and he talked to God as well. He just, I don't know. And I mentioned this before, Sam. He seems like a chaser. Like there are certain coaches that are never, ever satisfied. They're chasing. They don't even know what they're chasing. Because even if he wins a national title, he'll still chase. And I just thought that given that documentary on ESPN, that maybe he found happiness, with his family, his ex-wife, that program. I guess that's the surprising part of it. And it felt like he was trying to play a little bit of a victim there at the very end, that I wanted to coach him, but they wouldn't let me. What do you make of all of that?
Yeah, I thought this was truly, it was so fascinating, not even because of the documentary. That was certainly super, super notable, but just because of the general, I guess PR campaign might not be the right phrasing, but how he turned his life around. I love your interviews that you've done with Lane, Dan, and you talked to him when he was at Florida Atlantic and, all these different spots. And that's what's been so beneficial about the 6 years he's been in Oxford for both sides. Ole Miss missed 4 straight bowl games before he got here. Look where they are. And Lane was a little radioactive. He, at times at Florida Atlantic, he was pretty wanted, but Lane has never become a hotter commodity on the coaching market until now. So this has been such a beneficial relationship for both sides, but um, I guess, Dan, you'd remember more than me, but I was thinking about this last night. If it goes south in Baton Rouge, not that I think it will. I think Lane's a great coach, but I guess Brian Kelly probably didn't either. But if it goes south, like where will the biggest risk to me is where will his name be up in the Ring of Honor one day? At Florida Atlantic? Like he's giving up his home right now. And certainly I think he's going to do well in Baton Rouge. They all think he's going to do well. And I think he, if you go into the Hall of Fame, like the MLB debate, he may one day have like the tiger on his hat, right? But if it goes poorly, I just wonder for Lane, like, do you regret giving up your home, giving up a place you were loved, 6 years in Oxford is the longest of any stop in his coaching journey.
Talking to Sam Hutchens, Ole Miss beat reporter for the Clarion-Ledger. If the players voted, and I said this last Wednesday, I know he's going to want to stay, but if the players want him, if they took a vote and they wanted him to coach, then I would certainly factor that in. If they had taken that vote, what do you think the results would have been?
I don't think it would have been unanimous, right? And of course, like on a roster of 100 plus players, of course it's not. But I think generally it had gotten to the point where players would have said, go. And there, one aspect of this is they love Pete Golding. The guy they promoted is kind of the perfect stability guy. I had to call him come out. He's kind of the anti-Lane Kiffin. Dan, all Pete Golding tweets out is shark emojis. Like his last 48 tweets, I think 47 have been just a single shark emoji. But he'll come in a room, he has a Southern accent, and he fires everyone up. So he's sort of the perfect like foil to Lane to turn to if you just want to stabilize the roster before your most important game in program history in 20 years. But I was at the Manning Center yesterday, kind of talking to, frankly, any of the players who would chat on the way out. And maybe it was just a small boost, a temporary boost, because Pete and Keith gave him a great speech. But it sort of seemed to me like they were relieved that it was over. And here's the deal. Their window to transfer will open at the end of the season. So they can still go to LSU if they want. And I'm sure Lane would love to have Keywan Lacey, the running back, Trinidad Chambliss, the quarterback. So the players, I think, are the biggest winner in this situation, perhaps, because they can still go if they want. But now they can focus on, potentially hosting a game in Oxford here in 19 or 20 days.
And I'm guessing maybe a year from now in November, LSU comes to Ole Miss, correct?
That's right. They're coming here next year. The mustard bottles will be flying off the shelves at the Walmart here.
Last question. What does the committee do to Ole Miss, if anything, since they're losing their head coach?
Yeah, that's kind of the next fascinating thing. The short answer is I don't think they dropped them out of a playoff spot. Maybe it's a home playoff spot. Maybe it's the last home playoff spot. But people have been bringing up the Florida State situation when Jordan Travis got hurt. But I think the thing that some folks miss is that Florida State situation. There was a data point of Travis losing Travis, and then they looked really bad in the next game. So I thought, hey, there's an argument if you're Ole Miss, you don't want to go to the SEC championship game, because if you lose Lane and then get boat raced by Georgia, that would maybe give the committee more of an excuse to drop you. But, frankly, we have no idea what this team looks like without Lane, what this team looks like without its coordinators. So I think that would be a tough sell for the committee to drop them out of a home playoff spot.
You're not going to LSU with Lane Kiffin, are you?
No. He was so fun to cover, Dan, and I did hot yoga with him, and he was so fun. But there were times last year over my time on the beat that I wished I covered a normal coach, who wasn't tweeting when I was at the golf course or at the Walmart or something.
Good stuff, Sam. Thanks for joining us.